Welcome back to the channel. Umeed ka Safar. Today, we bring you a story that is not just about broken bangles, it's about broken dreams, shattered silence, and the rise of a woman who once believed her strength lived in someone else. This is the story of When Her Bangles Broke. It begins in a small town, where the air smelled of old traditions and every household echoed with the sound of hope. She was a simple girl with simple dreams: to marry a good man, build a warm home, and spend quiet evenings laughing under a modest roof. Her world was filled with the soft clinking of bangles, the aroma of morning tea, and the sweetness of unsaid prayers for her husband's safety and success. Marriage brought her moments of joy, comfort, and the promise of forever. But forever, as she would soon learn, doesn't always last. One ordinary evening, as she adjusted the colorful bangles on her wrist waiting for her husband to return from work, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't him. It was news, cold, sharp, and unforgiving. He had been in a road accident, and he was gone. Just like that, the bangles she had just worn slipped off her trembling hand and shattered on the floor. That sound would forever echo in her soul. Those broken pieces weren't just glass, they were pieces of her heart, her identity, her tomorrow. For days she didn't speak. She sat in silence, holding on to his shirt, breathing in memories that were now fading. People came with words of sympathy and left with pity in their eyes. "She's so young," they whispered. "What will she do now?" They brought her white clothes to wear, as if to erase all colors from her life. But somewhere deep within, something was changing. One morning, as sunlight pierced through the curtains, she stood in front of the mirror and looked at herself, not as a widow, but as a woman who still had breath, strength, and purpose. Her tears had dried, but her eyes now held fire. She walked to the broken bangles on the shelf and picked up a piece, sharp, glittering, and unapologetic. That day, she made a decision. She would not live in the shadow of loss. She would live to honor his memory. She enrolled in a small tailoring class. The same hands that once trembled now stitched clothes with determination. She faced taunts. Why is she working? A widow should stay behind closed doors. But she kept going. Every insult became fuel. Every rejection made her stronger. Soon she started her own little business, designing, sewing, and selling. What started as survival turned into success. She hired other women like her, abandoned, widowed, silenced. Together, they built not just clothes, but courage. Her house, once silent, now echoed with laughter. One evening, a journalist came to interview her. "What changed you?" they asked. She looked at her wrists, empty, without bangles, and smiled. "The day my bangles broke," she said, "was the day I found the strength I never knew I had." Her story began to inspire others. Girls wrote letters to her. Mothers brought their daughters to meet her. She became a symbol, not of grief, but of grace. Not of tragedy, but transformation. Her life became proof that when a woman's world shatters, she can build a new one with her own hands. Time passed, and although she never remarried, she found a new kind of love in helping others rise. She created a foundation for women in crisis. She traveled to villages, told her story, and taught them how to stitch, how to speak, how to believe. Her voice was once shaky, now it echoed like thunder in town halls. The same streets that once pitied her now honored her. The girl whose life had once stopped at her doorstep had now become a name whispered with respect across the country. But she remained humble. Every year, on the day of her husband's death, she sat quietly and lit a candle in front of his photo. "You left me," she would whisper, "but in losing you, I found myself." That one loss had given birth to thousands of victories, for herself and for countless other women. So if you ever hear the sound of bangles breaking, don't always see it as an end. Sometimes, it's the sound of a new beginning. A beginning where pain births power. Where silence transforms into voice. And where one broken woman becomes the strength for 100 others. This was her journey. When her bangles broke, her soul awakened. She didn't just survive, she rose. And in her rise, she taught us that sometimes, rock bottom is the solid ground we need to start again. Thank you for watching this story on Umeed ka Safar. If this tale touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs hope today. And don't forget to tell us in the comments, have you ever found strength in your own brokenness? Until next time, take care. And remember, your story isn't over yet.